I've said before, it's become one of my favourite EPs to listen to. I love the fact that it's got a few tracks and then a few remixes of each of the tracks, and I love the different directions that it takes throughout the whole thing, and I love the fact that it's kind of, for someone that plays filthy guitar music, it's kind of quite out of my comfort zone, but it just works so perfectly. And I'm sure I've said before on the show, but a really good friend of mine that I used to work with many years ago, he used to listen to loads of dubstep, and I said, how'd you get into dubstep? And he goes, well, basically I used to listen to Slayer and stuff like that, and this is just like, you can listen to, this is the same thing but clubbed up, so you can go and dance to it. I was like, I like that. And that's where the connection to the rock part is. When you hear something like this, you go, oh, that's dirty. You can imagine, her music collection is very, very wide to come out with that tune. It's absolutely banging, and I love it.
Oh, for sure. And if people like this, she does have a Bandcamp, and I'm pretty sure it's near your price. You can also pick up her first EP called The Feast of Villains, which is just as badass. There's no remixes, but it's a badass EP. Let me tell you that right now. And I mean, it just this stuff, just in general, and like I said, I used to be completely against the electronic kind of, we'll call it pop cultures, because partially it was because of stuff I didn't know, and I'll be honest with you, I didn't know a whole lot about it, because it was essentially judging a book by its cover, because you hear techno, you hear this, that, the other thing, it's that's alright, but it's kind of boring. The only thing I kind of got into, it kind of started kind of leading the way, was a Prodigy, for one.
Yeah, I love the Prodigy.
And then from there, it was what was the name of that band? It was Dirty Vegas. Days Go By.
Oh, Dirty Vegas.
Right.
Yeah.
So and
Chemical Brothers as well.
Well, yeah, that's right. Chemical Brothers too, for sure.
Into that side of the music, because I used to live near a guy actually who was the gardener for, I think it was Aired Out, the Chemical Brothers.
Oh, no way.
And yeah, and he said it was amazing because in one of his rooms, you walk into this room and basically it's quite a big house, and because obviously he's done well on this huge wall which is just full of different bass guitars, and it makes you realise when you go back and listen to the music that it's not just someone clicking buttons on the computer. They actually put this stuff in and play it, and it's got that kind of musicality which I like. But I'm the same, I used to listen to a lot of jungle and drum and bass, a bit of funky house and stuff like that, but there are so many parts of the kind of EDM genre that just don't do it for me, because it's just kind of doesn't have any I suppose. But something like this just is the opposite. It's just so full of heart and soul. It's amazing.
Well, that's the thing too, right? Is because growing up, I was exposed to so much different stuff, but it was almost like somewhat segmented in the way it happened. I mentioned before, you had your hip hop phase, and don't get me wrong, I still loved the Beastie Boys, that sort of thing, but that was the first part of it, and then it was like 60s/70s, so the Doors, Rolling Stones, the Beatles, because my dad played the Beatles a lot, loved the Beatles, right? And both my parents, they did play classical, which, never really fully got into. Obviously the talent is just phenomenal. You can't argue that at all. But then there was the jazz and blues side, and with the jazz and blues side, that's what got me more interested, because my dad would have the big names. He had B.B. King, and he had Miles Davis, and Miles Davis, man, wow, I love that guy, and his album Silence, there's 3 songs there. It's probably one of his best albums ever. If you want great jazz, great cool jazz, right there. And if you want to go we'll call it electronic jazz, because more or less because of kind of a junk organ feel to it inside with the music. And there's a cool band that I discovered years ago. I don't even know how I came upon it. I think I was just flipping through channels and kind of landed on some sort of random festival. It was some sort of jazz festival. And there's a band called Medeski, Martin, and Wood, and they play the most tripped out jazz you've ever heard in your life. They're kind of the quote unquote acid jazz.
Right, yeah.
But man, the talent behind that is just so badass. And like I mentioned before, I mentioned Charlie Hunter, who is one of the younger jazz guitarists, and his guitar is mixed up of guitar strings, I think, and a couple of bass strings as well. And he's also, I've mentioned this before too, a very good friend of Les Claypool's. And Les Claypool we know from Primus, and Les Claypool did a solo album, and I believe right around the same time Charlie Hunter's I think it was his second album, Natty Dread, came out, because before that was Shango, and I'm trying to remember the album before that. Either way, He's got tons of albums out now, but it was in between Shango and Natty Dread, and which, by the way, Natty Dread is just a phenomenal album, just all in itself. But what happened was Les Claypool did a song. The album was called Holy Mackerel, Highball for the Devil. It was a solo album, and this was in '96, I believe, is when it came out. But he did a song called Me and Chuck, and then later on, reading the credits inside the sleeve of the CD, he's like, oh, of course, he mentioned it. Chuck is none other than the guitarist, and so I was like, wow, well, that's amazing. So yeah, there you go. There's a little bit of information that you may not have known. So Charlie Hunter is a guitarist in the song, and he is the guy playing guitar in the song called Me and Chuck.
That's awesome. I love that.
So yeah, like I said, Wikipedia for this stuff, I tell you.
That's so right. Actually, that is. But we should make that your tagline.
Well, but it's
Dr. Bones, music zone. Wikipedia.
It's literally for the love of music. Just because I love the stuff, that's why I remember all the stuff. That's why all the stuff sticks. It's just like Les Claypool's really good friends with Stuart Copeland. And Stuart Copeland's got his own YouTube channel, and Primus has jammed with him numerous times, like all of them. So Larry Lalone and Herb. I can't remember his real name, but Herb is his nickname. So, speaking of which, one of the only time it was mentioned, Larry Lalonde's nickname. The funny thing is, Lalonde is a French name, right? And Larry Lalonde was born in San Francisco. Not that French people can't migrate, yada yada yada. But just interesting that it was mentioned that way. But his nickname is Lur, L-U-R. And the only time that was ever mentioned in any Primus song was a song called "The Air's Getting Slippery" off the album. Oh my God! My Name Is Mud. It was Pork Soda.
Yeah.
So Pork Soda, it's a funny song too because it's all banjo.
Right.
So yeah, it's called "The Air Is Getting Slippery," and at one point he stops. He's like, "Lur, Benji man." And then it goes into like a funky soul. That is a fantastic song and a fantastic album. If you love Primus, you love weird stuff, man, right there.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to go and check that out because that sounds amazing.
So, that was a long sidetrack. I do apologize. So let's get back to our...
No, man, I loved it. Don't apologize for the tangents. We love them.
We'll get back to our Women of Rock, and next up is one of my personal favorites, and I've talked to her a few times. This is a band called Sequoia, and their singer Anna. She is such a cool person and so much fun to talk to, and so enthusiastic about the music. The first time I interviewed her was about 2 years ago, roughly, and it was at 3 in the afternoon here because even though she's American, her husband works in the UK, so that's why she made the move to Britain, and. We were talking because the first thing she said when we were on air, she goes, well, I guess you're wondering why my Skype says US. She goes, well, I used to live, I believe it was Minnesota, and then I got married and moved to the UK with my husband and blah, blah. I was like, oh, cool, right on. But she, like I said, she's very enthusiastic and very, very, into the music. And we even talked about a writer's block. And she goes, I wouldn't normally think about that, but it actually can happen. She goes, I would sit on my piano and I would just draw blanks. I couldn't get anything together. And then it happened for I think it was roughly about a year or so. And then she said start coming back around, so she's getting more back into it. And then they just released this new EP about a year ago or so.
Awesome.
But she was fantastic. And I messaged her the other day actually saying do you guys have a new single? When would you like to come back on the show? Because Mike, you're going to love the interview if you can back to the show. We'll get her on NMS, and she is so much fun and just so enthusiastic. So it'll be a great interview, trust me. So I'm trying to get a hold of her and get that worked up for us.
Nice. I'm looking forward to that. That's a good introduction to a song.
So here we go with something I should be doing. It's Sequoia with Your Silence. Dig this.
feel I'm going empty, and I hide from your blade. Can I have it all back? Your eyes, your mouth, your face.
Sequoia with Your Silence. Now, tell me that wasn't a badass tune. What a great voice Anna has. I mean, that was fantastic. And just to flow the song, I mean, it was just really trippy, but like really cool and kind of stand out like electro pop, you know. And I'm not just saying that because I think she's a fantastic person and a great singer. I really mean that. I mean, it's a great song and a great band.
Yeah, definitely, and it's punky and it's got a bit of ska in it, and it's got these amazing vocal harmonies and these great keyboards, and then these I love it when people put sort of clever things into their song structure. So you can go. Yeah, I'm sure I've said before, but when I was 15, I used to write songs that went verse, chorus, verse, chorus, verse, chorus, repeat 5 times with a guitar solo and finish. I didn't even write bridges actually, and I still struggle. Jay does that, I love it when because this isn't quite that, but you can do that, but you can take things out or change things or change the beat or just add something to each of those parts as the song progresses to make it kind of feel like it's going somewhere. And right at the end of that song, where you've got the kind of slamming drums and you kind of this is our last chorus, this is our outro bit, that just really